Hello, hey everybody. We have some folks already getting in the chat. Please continue to do so. My name's Kabir Lambo. I am a first generation Nigerian American and a proud CV alum. Our event today is going to talk about race and the first gen identity. Want to shout out CV. I want to shout out Arise for putting this together. We have an amazing group of folks on our panel today, and we're going to get to hear their perspective. Um, really quickly, a little bit about Arise. Stands for the Alliance of Rhode Island Southeast Asians. Its mission to mobilize policy, programs, and partnerships to prepare, promote, and empower Rhode Island Southeast Asian students for educational and career success. CV is an organization I know a little bit more personally. I've heard a lot of great things about Arise, and I know a lot of great folks came from it. I can speak to CV a little more firsthand, though. I joined CV in 11th grade. They helped me through the entire college application process. I remember toiling in the CV office for hours working on draft after draft of my college essay. I hated every single second of it, but it ended up being really, really meaningful to me, and it got me into college. Um, but College Business is another Providence-based, Rhode Island-based organization that helped me develop my politics, my identity. It also got me into college. CV is a local nonprofit dedicated to providing college access to first-gen students. Not only do they help students through every step of the college application process, so FAFSAs, essays, the Common App, SAT practice, they also help students like me through college. Um, Now, the purpose of this event today is to prop up the stories and experiences of first gen students, specifically first gen Black and Brown students. Navigating college with all these identities is a very unique challenge. And our goal here is to give all the love to CV Arise for helping kids like me get through it, but also to remind all of you um, that it's the job of college campuses, faculty, staff, and classrooms to create safe and inclusive spaces for these folks. Okay, CV is also taking donations today. CV folks will be dropping the link in the chat every once in a while, so feel free to donate. I know for me, the donations that came from events like this went to care packages that were sent to me while I was in college. So all those days while I was really, really broke and had nothing to eat and the dining hall was closed, those care packages came in clutch. Note cards for helping me study. So those things go a long way. So please, whatever you can donate, we would love to have it. Now, I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves. Please just tell us your name, your preferred pronouns, and your school or college, and then the year that you're there, the year that you're in there. We will start with Nancy. You can go on.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Zong. I'm a sophomore at Rhode Island College, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a lead organizer with Arise.
Awesome, thank you. It's nice to meet you. Sally, you want to jump in?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Sally. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a freshman at URI, and I'm a Arise alum, and I'm also a part of CV.
Awesome. Lee, how about you?
Hi, my name is Liselot, but feel free to call me Lee. My pronouns are she or they, and I currently am a fourth-year student at the College of the Holy Cross, and I'm also a part of CV.
Awesome. And then last but not least, Markeem, jump in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Markeem Rodriguez. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am a second-year student at the University of Rhode Island, and I'm also part of CV.
Awesome. One of the many things I love is how CV is able to like maintain connections. So it kept in touch with me years after I've been out of college now. I was on the board for a little bit, and I'm obviously back like doing programs like this. And it's great to see all of you back here as well. Okay, to start, considering everything that's happening in the world, politics, the climate, just everything happening, I just want to check in with people and see like how you're doing. we can start with Markeem and then work our way back.
For me, I'm, a lot's been going on, obviously, like you said, global pandemic, a lot of distress, but I've been all right. At the end of the day, I have a job to do here. Getting it done to the best of my ability, and just trying to make a better future for myself. So it could be better, but I'm making the most of it. And so that's truly the best thing that matters to me.
Yeah. Lee, how about you?
Similar to my Akeem, I'm gonna say that I'm doing quite okay. Things could be much better, but under the conditions that we're all on, we understand that it's quite strenuous and can be quite daunting to navigate online system, distance friendly things, etc. But just I feel extremely grateful to be healthy and be at home in Providence with my family. Having the ability to continue with my last year of college without without a lot of disruptions. The college has been really good in facilitating the mechanisms and providing students with flexibility and the resources to sustain this. So, and I know I have so many wonderful people at CV and other mentors that really support me and are there if I need to talk, etc. So most of all, feeling grateful.
Awesome. Yeah. Nancy, how about you?
I'm doing all virtual. So in the beginning, I was really struggling going through it, not knowing how I was going to survive this semester. Yeah, but eventually I got the hang of it. I'm still living by those 11:59 p.m. deadlines, but I am glad I'm turning things in. Semester's almost over. Yeah, but a lot has been happening and I'm okay, but at the same time, a lot of things are happening in the world where it's okay to not be okay at times and to find a way to move productively in our communities because so much has been happening.
Right. So many things. Sally, how about you? How are you feeling?
Um, I'm feeling really good. Honestly, I really can't complain. I'm grateful. I'm healthy. People around me are healthy. Um, I'm getting my college experience. It could be better, but like I have to make the most out of it. So I really can't complain. It's going good. It was hard in the beginning during the pandemic, but things are getting better.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Just wanted to check in, see where people are at. I know things are changing constantly with classes being in person or virtual. Professors, from what I've heard, have been pretty lenient, or have been giving students a lot of grace, which is awesome. So I wanted to start though a little personal and just ask, like, what was the conversation in your house like surrounding college? Like, were you having a bunch of conversations with your parents about college? Was the assumption there that you were going to go? Does anyone want to start?
I can start.
Go for it.
So the conversation in my house was either way I was going to college, whether it was online or whether I was going to be on campus, I was going to go. But I'm first gen, low income, so I live with my grandmother. She's retired, so she really didn't want to hear anything I had to say about going out of state. She was like, "You're going to URI. That's it. You need to go where all the money's coming from." So that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. Lee, how about you?
Um, I think similarly, it was always there, the conversation of college as in a distant future, for me and my sister alike. Just because my parents were really just focused on providing those opportunities that we wouldn't have had otherwise in our home country. And yeah, I mean, let me think of the next sentence. My parents were never so specific about specifically what college or what career looked like in like after high school. So they were really just flexible on like whatever I wanted to do that would be for me that would craft what I wanted to be in the future, etc. They wanted me to pursue those things without many limitations. So yeah, that's how it looked like.
Nancy, what about you?
No matter what happened, I was going to college. And um, ever since I was really young, my parents instilled in me that no matter what, I have to get a doctoral degree.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
their last hope. And
Did they say
yeah,
that?
I'm their last hope.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that will be able to make the family happy and successful. So I carry that with me. And with this pandemic, I talked to my parents about like taking breaks, all that. Um, but that's not an option. My mom literally told me like 2 days ago, like, no matter what, you need to keep going. Because if you stop, you're not going to get back to it.
Yeah. That sounds like a lot of pressure, and compounded by the pandemic, obviously. Rakeem, what was the conversation like at home for you?
There wasn't really a conversation, more so because my mom worked a lot, but it was kind of like a given that I was gonna go to college, similar to everyone else. And similar to everyone else is a lot of cultural pressure. But like I understood like what was at hand and what I needed to do to be successful. And for me, college was the route that I needed to go. And so I would say there wasn't really more so conversation, but like I knew it was gonna happen. And with my mom working a lot, it was just there needed to be a lot of trust for me to make the decisions that I needed to make for me to be successful. You know, first step starting with going to CV and finding outlets that could help me. And it's been working out thus far, and hopefully it continues to do that.
It will, yeah. And that part is so interesting. How our parents, in a lot of instances, weren't like they weren't going to sit down with us in front of the computer and help us with any of this stuff, but the assumption was still there, which is what makes an organization like CV so awesome, right? Um, yeah, my dad was never going to work on a FAFSA with me. It's just like, here's all the documents you need, just figure it out, and I just had to do it. And I had awesome folks at CV to help me. So Sally, I'll jump to you. What does your first gen identity mean to you? And how does it intersect with your other identities?
Immediately when I think of being first gen, I think of being African. I'm the firstborn in America, so that's really what it means to me. What was the second part of the question that you asked?
How does it intertwine with your other identities?
Um, Honestly, I can just say trying to get through college, like that's really all I think about when I hear first gen, like African and college. Like Nancy said, I'm really my family's last hope. I'm the oldest right now, so it's like I am the example. Like I have to set the example for my younger brother and my cousins and my nieces and my nephews. So like it's a lot of pressure, but I don't see it in a negative way. It's like positive and it motivates me, honestly. There's nothing, I'm not ashamed of being like first gen at all. So
Yeah, I'm already starting to notice a trend. So I guess I can ask some other people. Markeem, what does that pressure feel like for you?
It At times it gets a little tough. But at the end of the day, the way I see it is like I'm like that light at the end of the tunnel, or that that lamppost like in the ocean. And just I'm the one that's gonna help my family be in a better position than they were, before I came into college. And that pressure at times can be a lot, but it's the least that I can do for them putting me in the position to even get to college. Um, and like they were saying, like being the first one and like setting that precedent for others after me for them to see like, this is the path that I chose. You know, you can go a similar route, but I'm going to also help you along the way so you don't make the same mistakes that so it's a lot smoother for you, and it just becomes smooth. It becomes a smoother trail, like generation, you know?
Yeah, I hear that. Mistakes for me, so many of them through my college process. Yeah, the pressure is real. Nancy, what about you? What does the pressure feel like for you? You were the first one to bring it up.
I think I have a lot of mixed feelings about it, um, because I'm still like processing that pressure every day, like what it means to me and what does it mean for my purpose in life. And I think it's good in a sense where like we're in America and women have access to an education, whereas in Laos, where my parents came from, um, girls did not have no education, and only the rich people did. So there's an opportunity there for me to break the cycle of poverty within my family, but also thinking like, what if college isn't what I wanted to do? What if there are other career paths that I wanted to take? Because college isn't the only answer to break the cycle of poverty. So I'm still questioning these things, and I'm still trying to find ways to navigate the systems and structures that are not there to support me.
Mm, yeah. Lee, what about you?
Um, so I would say, in terms of the pressures, I did definitely feel that more like in the transition from high school to college, but I think it was more a lot coming from me just because I didn't know how to cope with uh, all the overwhelming information and the deadlines and the documents, etc. But I think even if my parents like didn't really know what that meant, like I didn't have the background knowledge to tackle this, they were really supported in what they could do. And so I think for that, I can combine like the pressures with like the original questions and saying that to be first generation, for me specifically, it means like creating these new networks of knowledge that could then help other folks out, because I know that I'm extremely grateful for the people that at CV sat with me and did all the FAFSA, did all the drafts. And at the same time, I was learning a lot from this process. And I could then share with um, first year students that came into my school. I could use my bilingual abilities to communicate with their parents and initiate those new relationships. So it was really beautiful to just, imbibe so much from that past experience and really put something out in the world with that and be someone for others. So yeah. And I think it also mixes again with like, yeah, first generation and being Dominican and but living in America and uh, navigating different sorts of identities with this background that you have, but it just makes it a more unique experience, a more valuable perspective to bring into spaces. So yeah.
Yeah, our perspective is so valuable, and the fact that you're able to bring your culture, your identity into this space. I'm sure at Holy Cross, I'm gonna go out on a limb that say it's predominantly white. So that's super valuable to a space like that, right? Um, so we talked all about these pressures, but like, how does that affect your classes? What does that what does that end up looking like, right? We've all talked about all these other factors, but like, what does that look like for you in the classroom when you have an essay due, when it's 11:58 and you need to submit a deadline? What does that look like or feel like? Or is that too much? Is that too personal? We don't want to get into academic. Does anyone want to jump in? Go for it, Lee.
Sorry. um I have a lot of these conversations with Susan at TV as well, but I think apart from like me being the first in my family to go to college, maybe I'm hard on myself, but I do put a lot of pressure on like I need to like present the best possible product and everything, or the best possible result in everything that I do, because I want to show that I can do this, to like, period, just to show that I can do this. So I'm probably the type of person to just plan out things really, really early, but just because I want to avoid making those mistakes, even if you shouldn't be afraid to make them. But I feel that and combining it with the previous question, a lot of that pressure comes to me to not make those mistakes, because again, I can't avoid like sometimes thinking this is a space where I don't feel like I 100% belong, so I have to show a certain level of readiness, of proficiency. But yeah, which it's not a healthy mindset to have. You should be more flexible with yourself. You should be content with what you produce, what you put out into the world. But I think that's I think what I get from what you've asked. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, Nancy, I'll throw it to you. When did you realize that you were first gen? Like, when did you uncover that word? When was that identity put upon you? And then how did that impact your experiences after that?
I think I wasn't like fully, like I knew I was first gen, but like I didn't care about it till I was like a sophomore, late sophomore or junior, when I became involved in Arise and all that. I think I always wanted to fit in. I was always confused about my identity as a Hmong American, because I felt ashamed that Hmong people are a bunch of farmers and coming to America. Not a lot of them have education. So I carried that with my educational experience and wanting to be more Chinese or be Korean with the other successful Asians are. Um, but I think I came to realize that when I was like a junior and started working on the process, on like working on my college essay and trying to find the story on what makes me me, what makes me different than other people. And I went to Costco. So there are a lot of other students who their parents are very successful. They're lawyers, they're doctors, and they have parents to support them. Um, so I think I finally acknowledged that when I was like in my junior year, and it impacted me. And know, I guess it can, like there's pros and cons to that. Because the pros, like I make a difference in my family, and there's more scholarships. Like I applied to a few Rhode Island Foundation scholarships just for being first generation. That definitely helped. And also, like the cons was that I have to advocate for myself, not knowing how. Like making sure that I complete my FAFSA, talk to the advisors at RIG, or get to know the school environment. So I had to learn those things when my parents could have supported me, like my friends' parents, but we're not on the same level with like life and stuff.
Markeem, I'll throw it to you. Yeah, when did you recognize your first gen identity?
I think it was in high school. Kind of like similar, like going through the process. I knew there were a bunch of barriers that I was gonna face because my family just didn't go to college. And understanding, when I understood that, I knew that even though I'm grateful for them, they weren't going to be the best outlets to go to for me for college. So that's why I actively sought out people who could help me. That's what brought me to CV. And that's when I truly, truly knew what first gen meant and what it was to be first gen. Being around that office literally every day, like all the advisors can tell you. Being in that office and just being around so many like-minded first gen students who just like understood what it meant for me to just be me, especially from Providence. It was something that I grew to appreciate. Not in saying that I did not like being first gen, but when you don't have something like that outlet and like directly in your family to help you with the FAFSA, to help you find the schools, or even to take you around to visit schools, or like give you advice, it becomes a lot and it becomes stressful, and you feel kind of like a burden at some point, like when you have to go to them when they literally don't know what to do. So like going to the CV and then meeting all those people and the advisors who and the alumni, it was like it made my life a whole lot easier, and it made me being here at URI a whole lot easier.
Sure. Yeah. Sally, Lee, anyone else want to jump in?
I can jump in. So I first recognized my first gen identity around my sophomore year when I first joined Arise. It didn't really stick with me. Like I didn't really care too much about it because I knew that I was first gen, but I didn't really know what it was called. So I didn't really like care about it until I got to my senior year. And then I had to start the college process, and it was like, whoa, this is hard. And like it became a big part of my like application, because like Nancy said, you have more opportunities when you're first gen, you're a minority student, you have a little bit more scholarships. So it's like it really like hit me when I was starting to apply for college. So yeah.
It's such an interesting point about identity, right? Like even me recognizing like my whole life that I was Black, but then being told that, like, not told, but recognizing that I could use that as a way to get something, right? To get money, to get access to a scholarship, get into a program like talent development. It was really interesting experience dealing with that. Cool. What were your college applications about? What were they like? How was that process? I hated my process. I'm not a big fan of writing drafts for things, and CV was definitely big on, no, we're going to keep working on this. Do people enjoy their essay writing process? Go for it, Lee.
I'm sorry, I keep raising my hand. um, uh, yes, I quite recall now, just because I'm also now going through another application process. So it was like very reminiscent of like what I was doing back in high school. I it was a lot, like a very arduous like process, I would say. Lots of drafts and lots of double checking application details, etc. And really, I think something that Markeem has said before kind of resonated with this. Like at some points I did feel kind of like, well, not a burden, but like something similar to that. Always keep asking this like the same questions for like different like formats, etc. But recognizing then that it was because, well, it's you, of course, your first time doing this, and you know, when you're at home doing this versus when you're at school, when you have like more people around you, is quite different. But I think, and again, just bringing it back to like how important mentorship was, I guess, during that process, because then I had people that could guide me towards cater, like selling yourself to these colleges, how to put yourself, what stories, not exactly what stories to tell, but like nudging you onto like how to tell your story and like really value it and show that with these pieces of writing, because you're going not to just make part of some I don't know, image that they have, but rather you want to go in and, you know, be recognized for your previous achievements and for you who you are entirely. So yeah.
Okay. Nancy, what about you? What was that college application, college essay writing process like?
Yeah. I started writing my college essay in my junior year because I had to do it for like a final grade in my English course. That was interesting because I think I was really interested in writing at that time, and I wanted to. That was when like I started to really acknowledge my Hmong identity.
Mhm.
So I included my mom and her story in my college essay. So I had fun doing that. Um, but like when I got to my senior year, I was in my guidance counselor's office every single day. Like it got to the point where they all knew me, and um, and they just knew why I was here. But I think just being able to advocate for myself relieved my stress, because then I got to know like the administrators, and I got a few scholarships just from like getting to know them too. So getting those personal connections. um, I received some support. I guess it wasn't targeted much, but with the support of like Arise, especially like Rosie and Non, the former program director at the time, she they both really helped me with like my scholarship essays and just making sure that I really put myself out there. You know, that's like a struggle where like I definitely struggle with as a first generation, like appreciating my self-worth and acknowledging everything my ancestors did to get to this point.
Yeah, the piece about self-worth really resonated, just because college will do a really good job beating you down and making you, not recognize your worth. Um, it's really, really difficult. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, colleges have to be intentional about creating spaces for students like us to really feel that self-worth and to feel seen. Um, Sally, what was your application process? What was your essay about?
I hated my application process. I actually underestimated how hard it was gonna be,
Yeah.
and then like the school that I was at, like the environment was just terrible. Like we had like terrible administrators, so it was like that didn't help.
To put it,
Um, but but CV definitely helped. Like Tina, she was always there. She definitely helped me with my essays. I could say like the only really good thing that came out of it was the fact that like nobody can tell you how your essays are supposed to be. Like you're personalizing it. There's no right or wrong way. So it's like you're just like free writing it's your creativity. So it's like that was really the only good thing that came out of it, to be honest.
Mhm. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Markeem, what about you?
When I tell y'all I hated my college process, it was like the most stressful. I I definitely knew CV hated me during my college process. I was so annoying. Like coming into it, I already knew that the amount of applications I was gonna get. So my mindset was like, oh, I got 20 free applications. I'm gonna use all 20 applications. I didn't know how much work that was gonna be until they sat me down and they were like, if this is something that you really want to do, just know like you got to put in the time and the effort. December comes really, really quick. And I was just like, bet, like say that, like I'm I'm down to do that. And I remember just banging it out. I did pretty much most of like the basic stuff, like filling out your name, your Common App, all that. And then I got to a standstill for a long, long time when I had to do my college essay. I just really just didn't know what to write about. And this is like back to what I was saying about like identity and like how CV helped me find who I was, and like my uniqueness in a way. Cause I was just like, there's nothing cool about me that these colleges are gonna want to read about
Yeah.
that is gonna set me apart from any other any other like any other person, you know. So I was just really stressful about that, and just like constant conversations with Tina and Emgo and with everyone, and just I finally sat down and just like I told my story. And looking back at it now, I'm proud of it. After that, it was a lot easier, but after it, then we got to like the supplemental essays and stuff, and those just were so time consuming and so tedious. And looking back at it now, I think the reason why I was so like content with applying to so many schools, it was I think there was a fear. Fear was like the biggest role that played in my life at that time. A lot of trust issues within myself, thinking that if I applied to only, even if it was only like 8 schools, there was a really good chance that none of those 8 schools were going to accept me. So I better maximize my output as much as possible, or as much as I can, which is the 20 applications, to at least solidify me getting into maybe 3 out of the 20. And that was my mindset. Um, I've grown a lot from that. And because I went through that, I understand now. But back then it was very tough. But uh, it's who I am now, and I wouldn't have changed anything now.
Yeah. Yeah, man, just so much. I remember the woman Deb, who was my advisor at CV. And I think initially I was gonna maybe talk about identity, but at that point I hadn't really, similar to you, Mark, I hadn't discovered mine yet necessarily. I understood that I was Nigerian, but couldn't really nail it, at least enough to write about it. I ended up writing about video games. I wanted to make video games as a younger person. I still kind of do. Ended up being this really nerdy essay that ended up working. But then in college, getting in there, that's when I just did the identity piece, and I discovered a little bit more about who I was. Um, so there's a lot of pressure, both from family, pressure we're putting on ourselves, pressure academically, some fear there, a little bit of self-doubt. Where was the confidence built? How's the confidence been built through the college process? Like, what has worked for you in college that has given you this confidence? Because you all are very, very eloquent, thoughtful, amazing people. So like, what is giving you that boost? Nancy, what about you?
That's a really big question. I think it has to be like my goal, which is to like break the cycle of poverty within my family and hopefully to one day become a doctor. And when I think of those things, that really pushes me to continue and definitely don't give up, because it's where I believe I can support the community most. And if I want to do that work, I got to put in all my energy into that.
Word. Sally, what about you? How have you found your confidence? How have you found yourself on college campuses?
Honestly, I think before I got to college, I had the confidence. Like I grew up around people that always spoke good things into my life, like they still do till now. So it always followed me. But I feel like once I started seeing the money, like that definitely tore down some of the confidence that I had, because it's like I really want to go to these schools, but I can't because of the money. So I think like once that happened, I definitely got like discouraged. But I think once I realized that, you know, TD was going to be like the best option for me, it definitely built my confidence, because once I did like the summer program and then I got here and I seen how much resources come out of TD and like all of the good things that came out of it, it was like, yeah, like this is going to be great, because at the end of the day, it's really what you make out of it. So
Lee, what about you?
So echoing a little bit from Sally, there was also a transition program at Holy Cross, but I'll focus on like two main things that really put me in that mindset of I can tackle anything in college. Everything that I learned from that program, as she mentioned, like yes, there like super good resources come out from college transition programs, but also once I like finished that and went into my first semester of freshman year, I realized, oh wow, that summer program was harder. I I can like it put me in that mindset to like, you know, already tackle essays and problem sets and discussions and like expositions, et cetera, et cetera. So I was really grateful for the set of skills that I like was exposed to before initiating the first semester. And then another important thing I think in the course of academics is the role of professors and what role they play into like your academic career. I've been like fortunate enough to have connected with professors of color and queer professors that have really like, you know, opened their office space to have meaningful conversations about, you know, checking in genuinely with you and what and other, you know, touching upon things you have in common and what how you feel within the campus as a first gen student, as a student of color, etc. So just those conversations from them and having even them in classes was like a super good experience that for me worked in like further valuing my stance in this particular environment. So that was very reassuring to me.
Markeem, you mentioned that CV played a big role in helping you gain that confidence. How have you continued to like build upon that in college?
There's a lot of elements to it. The people that I not put myself in front of, but like the people I surround myself with, they probably give me the most confidence. A lot of them, we have similar mindsets and similar goals. So to be able to push each other and also be competitive, that's helped me. But even though I'm not in the office every day with CV, I'm still in contact with, I still have an advisor. I'm not CAP anymore, but I'm College Success Program now. And I'm constantly hounding Tiravu, asking him questions and just, picking his brain and seeing what I can do. So I would say that, a lot of people in CV who work for CV, they're alumni, and they can say, they let me know their experience, and it helps me. It keeps me going. And then I would say the third one would be the people who are directly in my line of work with like computer science and my other majors, who are also, identify the same identities as myself, and seeing them in such high positions, that keeps me going. If they can do it, I can do it, of course. But I think the biggest thing is just me being true to myself, like my determination, my ambition, and just wanting to just make a better life for myself and my family and people who look like me. I think that's the biggest thing, and that's what keeps me going and will continue to keep me going.
Yeah, amazing. Campuses specifically, we've mentioned mentorship, professors. Are there specific people that have guided you on this journey through college so far, that you would like to talk about, highlight, shout out for a second? I'd love to hear some folks. Maybe I know them. If you're at URI, maybe I know some of these people. Sally, you want to start?
I definitely want to shout out my TD advisor. She keeps me on track because like they don't tell you when you get to college that like there's certain things you got to keep up with, like your term bill balance and stuff like that. So when I got to college, I was thinking like, it wouldn't be that bad, paying off stuff, but what like having a meeting with your TD advisor every week really does keep you on track because you lose track of things that need to be done, to register for classes, because once you get to college, it doesn't just stop. like you still have to do things to keep going. So it's really good to have like that extra help. And like, you know, when you get caught up in like the schoolwork and like, you know, all of that stuff, it's really good to know that there's someone there that is like basically not holding your hand, but they're looking out for you. Like it's like your personal advisor. It's not like, you know, like you're really forming a relationship with your advisor, so they keep you on track. Yeah, my advisor's Catherine.
Okay. Yeah. Nancy, how about you?
So right now it's kind of weird at school, like what supports I'm getting, because like I haven't declared my major. So like I somewhat have an advisor, somewhat don't. But the person that I have been meeting, she's been supportive and like keeping me on the pre-med track and also exploring what major I want to do. Dr. Maya, she's great biology professor. And also shout out to my mentor, Nan, from Arise, and also shout out to everyone at Arise, like Rosie and Shonda, for supporting me with like my scholarship essays and checking in on me, making sure that I don't give up on my own goals and all that.
Yeah. Lee, what about you?
So I think since freshman year at Holy Cross, I had a mentor, an upperclassman mentor, and I think she, in academics and just like my life at school, has made the most impact, just because as me, she's also Dominican, and we share a lot in our backgrounds, and we are able to talk about things that I wouldn't have been able to talk about with other folks. And that just always kept me continuing to think about who I am and what I wanted to bring into the space at Holy Cross, and what I wanted to, I think also the Jesuit tradition has influenced me, but who I wanted to be for others. And so like she's always been there, and I've always, even if we didn't have to meet, or even if the mentorship program ended, I still like reached out to her. We had lunch and we could, you know, keep our connection. And again, highlighting the folks at CB, I remember Emgo and Francesca were always there at the initial stages of the whole college experience. And now Susan, and super, super grateful for her and all the conversations I've been able to have with her, and all that I can, you know, share about my worries, my desires, my goals for 5 years from here, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. Rakeem, you mentioned some of these folks briefly. You want to dive a little deeper? It's like your support system on campus.
Yeah, I would say the first one would be Dr. Hunter, he is an engineering professor, which is not in my line of work, but that didn't stop me from reaching out to him, or him like accepting and like mentoring me. It was like the first Black man figure in my life, and I've been super grateful for it. Like I said, the people that I'm around, one of my closest friends, Worth, my close friend, Josh, they just continue to, push me. Like I said, I don't know if you know Bobby Brito, extreme help. He is someone that just understands, the stuff that people go through, because he went through it the same way. And he's always actively just looking to help. And he's helped me in so many ways. The people in my student organizations, like the older heads. I'm a bond brother. I'm part of National Society of Black Engineers. And those upperclassmen in those student organizations has helped me so much, and just like taught me the game. And like everyone is saying with their advisors, like, Tiravut, he's helped me so much in such a little time. And like, I'm still actively asking him questions. Like, we got FAFSA to do on Monday. So, just, picking these people's brains, because they just get it.
Sure. Yeah. A program like TD, I wasn't even in talent development, but they literally like adopted me almost by force, right? Like you're gonna come to this office, you're gonna meet with us, like we're gonna make sure everything's all good. You have access to our printers, right? If you need to get anything done, incredibly helpful. And all that I'm hearing, like the theme is just how many different people, organizations that like we needed to guide us through this process and to like hold us up and like literally hold our hand through this process. I think that's what makes the first gen experience so unique, is that unfortunately, there are so many obstacles in the way that can keep us from getting to graduation, right? Getting to the college campus in the first place. But these programs and these individuals are really, really helping us through it. Now, again, how do we make these campuses more inclusive? It's a really, really big question. But I would love to hear what people think. How do we make these campuses better spaces for first gen students, Black and brown students as well? Nancy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think like definitely talking about things that might seem uncomfortable to people, like race, sexual orientation, um, oppression, everything, especially with like the protests, um, anti-Blackness in our communities, um, having those conversations and having actual classes about that, mandatory for people to take, just to be aware of like their surroundings. I think that'll definitely be beneficial. And definitely professors having training and all that, everyone at school having training on just learning about the history, and also how to move forward with the students and to help them be more included in the process of learning.
Yeah. Arkeem, what do you think?
It starts with obviously the students, specifically the student organizations, and just the first thing is just like creating that safe space on campus, and then second step is just how do we grow, and how do we apply the pressure that needs to be applied, to our individual institutions, and like specifically for URI, which I can speak on, is like, there's Bond, there's Pink, there's the newly found Black Student Union on campus, and just organizations like that coming together, which is super important, and just making, forcing our voice to be heard, I think is the, first real big step in change at these, PWIs, and then while also actively collabing with other organizations that will have students that could potentially come to your school. So like collabing with a College Visions or an Arise, and just letting them know that, hey, if you go to this school, there's people who look like you, who understand you, who can help you out the moment even before you step onto the campus. And just having everyone come together, that is the biggest way, in my opinion, to get a truly inclusive and liberated campus.
Word. Sally, what about you?
I was actually gonna dive into what Markeem said about like organizations, and it's starting with the students. I'm kind of in BSU. I haven't been in a few meetings, but like organizations like that, like where you walk by the Memorial Union and you see like Black Lives Matter on the yard, like people should definitely be aware of like what's happening in the world. I think a good way of making things more inclusive is having more open-minded professors. Like a lot of my professors are definitely, they make it known like there will be no racial like comments, stuff like that. Like having professors that understand you, they get it. So I think that definitely helps. Um, Also, I think TD is a great start to more inclusiveness on URI campus, because it's allowing more minority students to want to come to the university, knowing that it will be easier for us to get our degree. It's not going to be as hard to like come to this university, and you won't have to worry so much about like your debt, because you have a college that's willing to listen to you and pay for your tuition.
Word. Yeah. Lee, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm just gonna echo from what Sally had mentioned about college transition programs, just making sure that colleges offer these services, and not just that, but also services such as like a writing center or a section of financial aid that like helps you with financial literacy, and like offices of multicultural education, for instance, like those people, that staff needs to be there. And also because this is how I see it. Student voice is like extremely important, yes, and it's good to have those groups cohesively together, collectively saying what they want, and also the people, the individuals that can facilitate that want that message to the people in power within these institutions, because then um, there's a lot of limitations that already exist within like college administration, but identifying the voices and the people and the mechanisms and the loopholes to obstruct those things is like what needs to continue to happen in order to make college, you know, a more accessible space for a diverse population of individuals. Yeah, that was all.
No, that was great. Thank you. Yeah. Those programs do great work. For folks who don't know that are listening, talent development is a program that started at URI, I believe it was 25 years ago or so. Could have been more than that. And their goal is to bring students on campus. Typically, they're accepting students whose SAT scores and grades wouldn't get them into URI. So they bring them in for the summer program. They take a handful of classes, and that's their like transition onto campus. So by the time they get there in the fall, they're set up for success. Sally Marquis mentioned they're meeting with advisors relatively often, once a week, and I think it becomes a little less frequent as you become sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And they've helped so many people get through college, myself included. And again, I was not in the program, but they still brought me in and made sure I graduated. Yeah, those programs do work that we can't really measure, which is unfortunate because in some cases they're not getting the funding they deserve, or they need. But yeah, get off that tangent for a second. I would love to hear some like successes. What are some like amazing things that happened to you during your college experience where like you surprised yourself, you shocked yourself, you were blown away by like your ability to do something on your college campus, academically or otherwise? And I'm just meeting you all, but I know there's probably too many to say, but if you can pick just one, that would be great. Nancy, what's something that you're really proud of that you've done so far?
I think so far, like making friends, especially through Zoom. I'm surprised I was able to do that because in the beginning, I completely lost hope. Like I wasn't going to stay connected with anyone, and I wouldn't have any like support with the courses. But I actually got to know a few people, and yeah, I have a class with like I have some classes with like the same people, and it's just great to have like that connection. Also, like even before COVID, I was able to make friendships also, and that was great.
That's awesome. Lee, what about you?
I hope I don't sound too boring, but I'm currently writing a thesis in my senior year. But yeah, but the preliminary work for that came from my junior year, where I'm a double major, anthropology and global health studies. So my site was a Dominico-Haitian border and the experiences of Haitian women do border work, so vending, selling goods, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my whole thesis topic. But I think the moment that I can picture now that has made me feel the most proud is just having had the opportunity to go to the DR and do this work, to my home country actually, to know, even though like come to this place that I've known so long and like see it through a different perspective and being able to explore different people's experiences. And I was able to, you know, do amazing work with that and keep in touch with like folks that are doing amazing work down there, and being able to present that at a conference for my school.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and I'm continuing that, and I think it has been the most like actually been like it took form in three out of the 4 years of my college experience, but it has been the most meaningful thing, I think. And it's one of the things through which I can connect with people, and they you know, they follow up, and it doesn't only have to be about that, but can lead about other conversations about academics and opportunities, because these opportunities are there. If you want to embark in a research, there's funding available. You like can tell people about like the right connections and things they can do in order to pursue these opportunities, but and how they can kind of highlight their work, show their work, share their work, if that's, you know, what they want to do within the broader community, and really, you know, bring different perspectives out there that don't really have never take the space in other people's minds, or never really addressed.
Yeah, creating and using those networks, right? Like you mentioned a little bit earlier. That's exactly it. That work sounds amazing. Certainly love to talk a little bit more. I'm doing a project on a research paper on Haiti, the Haitian Revolution and its impact on the United States, and specifically African Americans here. Like, should definitely touch base at some point about that. Markeem, what about you? What has been your shining moment on campus?
I think firstly, kind of going back to the first question, but obviously with everything going on like racially, we at like the BSU really just wanted people on this campus to just see us and just understand what is going on. So we hosted like a candlelight visual, and like we actively called out like the senior level positions at the University of Rhode Island to come out, and they came, which was very fortunate enough. It was a beautiful thing. A lot of people got to share their stories, and now we have this. Well, kind of what Sally was talking about. We ended up setting up 30 signs of 30 Black men and women who were unfortunately killed due to police brutality. And it's such a silent thing. Like it's just like in the grass on campus, but it's just so quiet and so like powerful at the same time. Like I would say like that's like a big thing. But honestly, overall, I would just say like my time management and just like my personal growth, because like a lot of people, like I have like a lot of ambitions, and a lot of things that I want to do tend to make me overwork myself, which is obviously not the best thing to do. And a lot of people, you know, doubt that, and rightfully so. But at the end of the day, I know what I'm capable of and what I have to do, and I've made the most of it. You know, like after this, like I know I've managed my time to the best of my ability, where I've gotten all my work done for the rest of the day. I hop on this, and then later I have a my internship where I'm presenting a case study, which is going to be super exciting later on today. I'm really excited about that. So I'm just my time management, I think, was something that I didn't think I would get to this level, at least this early in my college career, but definitely excited.
That's incredible. And whatever tips you have, please send them along. I'm still working on it. Still trying to get there, man. Yeah, we can talk about that offline. Sally, what about you?
Honestly, making URI my home away from home has been like the biggest one I can say, because like there's some people in this Zoom call that could really testify to like how hard I was going to wanting, like I really wanted to go to a HBCU just to like, be comfortable, be around people that look like me. Like I was really dreading having to come to like a PWI, but like now that I'm here and I'm around like people that look like me, they have the same mindsets as me, we all have like the same goals, we're going through the same thing. Like it really makes me feel like safe and comfortable here. So definitely being able to call URI home is like a big one for me.
That's huge. That's huge. And taking up space, right? I remember um, us taking over the MCC at in a few instances, us taking over like the TD building at a few instances, right? Just like taking up space at a PWI, especially one like URI. I think it's amazing that you all would have the names of Black folks murdered by police on the green for people to see, because a lot of those students unfortunately aren't thinking about those things, right? This forces them to. It's really, really important. It's awesome to hear that URI is doing that work. Um, okay, so we've all had shining moments. Have there been any not so great moments, or have they all been perfect? Because you all seem so great, so incredible that it's all just been smooth sailing the whole time. If it's been all good, then we don't have to touch on it. But oh, great question. Someone asked, what is PWI? PWI stands for predominantly white institution. So like the University of Rhode Island would fall under that. Most college campuses here in the US would fall under that, right? There are specific spaces created, academic spaces created for Black students. Howard University might be one of them, right? It's a historically Black institution, yeah. Good question though, thank you. But yeah, maybe you don't have to touch on the specific failure. We don't need to call it a failure per se, but the specific instance, but how did you overcome it? How did you deal with the obstacles that might have come up, and how did you overcome it? Who wants to start? Marquine, go for it.
Kind of contradictory to what I said in terms of time management, but you know, at first, my first year here was my first semester specifically was just so tough for me. But it was like deadlines. I didn't really believe deadlines were actually deadlines. Like I was like, wow, that 11:59 is real. That's crazy. But you know, yeah, I didn't manage my time well at all. I at first chose the social life here before anything. I chose my student involvement, which is great and which I recommend anyone doing. But at the end of the day, school comes first, and I learned that really quick, and that's why I feel like that. Yeah, that was definitely the biggest thing. But like overcoming it, I just had to realize like I'm here for a reason, and I need to get that job done. And also, I couldn't really beat myself up because like going back, you know, obviously us being first gen, we didn't know what college was gonna be like. Especially being from Rhode Island. Rhode Island is in the bottom quarter in terms of education. So stuff that we are beating ourselves up for in terms of just like not knowing the material or small things like not knowing how to take notes or what's actually important on the lecture slides, we can't really beat ourselves up because we weren't taught that compared to other states. And I learned that quick. And I think being first gen in general just means a lot of quick and a lot of quick growth that you don't even feel. But when you first leave that campus back to home, you feel kind of different. So I would say that was like the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, so many students from, I went to Mount Pleasant. So many students in schools here in Providence or Rhode Island get to college unprepared. It's such a transition, and it's awesome to hear that you all have navigated it so well. Does anyone else want to jump in? What were some of your obstacles? How did you overcome it? Lee, go for it.
Yes. So I think I'm gonna echo a lot of what Markeem said, but I like definitely the moments that you don't get the mark you wanted or that you are feeling really doubtful about a situation because you're questioning your competence, your ability in something, definitely like is going to be there and has definitely been in a lot of moments throughout my own academic experience. But I think one of the things that I can say about that is that from that moment on, there's only room for growth and improvement. So don't, again, as Markeem said, don't really beat yourself up for it and don't be too hard on yourself because there are resources out there, and there's the time to recuperate and achieve what you meant to achieve first. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Sally, what about you?
I can say for me, I think my biggest obstacle was preparing myself to come to college, academically. Like that was definitely a big insecurity I had. Like, would I be able to like sit in a lecture and like feel like I belong? Like, I don't know. Like, I always felt like that was gonna be a big thing. Like, am I able to speak my mind, or like get assignments done on time, stuff like that, just because I feel like, I luckily I went to times two, so it did what they did what they could. Honestly, it wasn't the best, but like now that I'm here, I definitely do see like a lot of the things that I was put through there definitely helped a lot. Like, but I could say for me, honestly, take advantage of like programs like CV, Arise. If you're in College Crusade, take advantage of it, because there's going to be times when you get on campus and you're going to feel like so discouraged, and you're gonna really dread those 11:59 deadlines. You're gonna procrastinate. Like, I know for me in high school that was a big issue for me, but like once I got here, actually I have not been procrastinating, actually, which is really good. And also like what Markeem said, like you're here for a reason. Like you're not here to play around. Like you're paying for this. So yeah, you definitely have to be on top of your stuff. So yeah, that's really that.
Nancy?
Definitely resonate with what the other panelists said. I think my biggest struggle that I'm still like dealing with is navigating my purpose in life and trying to figure it out what that is, and also finding a balance, living for myself and living for my parents. Um, Knowing that I carry all this pressure, but also finding a balance where I can also be happy. Um, and also like with like the grades and stuff, like so many breakdowns, like you may not be the best, but after that breakdown can definitely move productively forward. Because life goes on and a grade doesn't define who you are as a person. So just I hold on to that thought and it really pushes me forward.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you all are kind of hitting on it, but are there any specific pieces of advice you want to give for folks that are working on their applications right now, thinking about going to college, gearing up to start the process that you all went through? Um, yeah, does anyone want to share?
I can go first. Just know that you're not alone in the process. We're all going through it, especially with this pandemic. Like mental health is probably hitting hard. I know it's hitting me hard, and just prioritize you and your mental health first. Because like how I said earlier, college may not be for you, and that's okay. There are other opportunities and career explorations that you can definitely do to break the cycle of poverty or to just be happy. And I believe that's the goal of life, to be happy. So get involved in these nonprofit organizations, these youth organizations that have the resources to support you to navigate what you want to do with your future. That'll definitely help.
Yeah. Cool. Sally, any advice for the
Yeah, definitely get into these programs like CV, College Crusade, um, Arise. They're definitely here to help. So I would say definitely look into those, get into it. Don't take advantage of it. I will actually do take advantage of it in a good way, but don't take advantage of it in a bad way. Like, don't push it away. You're definitely gonna need it because there's gonna be times where the college process is gonna be so hard. You're not gonna want to do those essays, but you have to remember that you're doing it for a good reason. So definitely, and don't stall on those college essays because they're gonna kick your butt. So yeah.
Markeem, any advice?
Yeah. There's something that like I live by and I've been like, this is what keeps me going. And I always say this, it's be the change, leave a mark, set a precedent always. I feel like, especially with our generation, like the world is truly in our hands. The next 20 to 40 years is truly on the decisions that we make. Uh, and whatever we want to see happen, we got to be prepared to, fight and make the change that we want to see. If it starts with school for you, um, know that it gets tough. It's a lot, but you will make it out. I have no doubt in my mind, because there's so many amazing resources out there at this point. Like we said, there's organizations like CV, Arise. Even when you get there, the student organizations who have played such a pivotal part of my college career. There's faculty who want to help you and want to see you successful. And then down to it, there's the students themselves. And if you find, or if you may not find them, but they'll actively go out and find you because they understand that they're here for a reason as well. There are people who are going to struggle the same way that they did, and they don't want to see that. At the end of the day, they don't want a repeat. They want everlasting change. And like I said, setting up. So they're the ones that set that precedent, leaving a mark and just showing people after them, like, yo, this is the way to go. This is the best way. You might want to go a different path, but laying out the foundation will set you up. And I'm not even done with school. I'm only in my second year, and I know this, and I still have a lot of growth to go. But because of the people who has helped me along this way, I already know that. So I would say that's the biggest thing, and that's what's keeping me going.
Amazing. Lee, what about you?
Yeah, so to the extent of advice, I think in this time particularly, something I would have probably would have done more myself is to take care of yourself and really understand that, not really understand, but it's okay to take time and not really be in this, I don't know, perpetual cycle of pressure and deadlines, because you want to give your best, you want to produce your best product, and you're not going to do that if you're not looking out for yourself first, if you're not making sure that you are well. And then throughout college, if you decide to go there, or once you're there, always um, uh, like not always, but know how you work and know how you work your best in that environment, because it's really easy to get burned out or to be negatively affected mentally by what's around you in that particular environment. So I think figuring out those ways of what makes you feel good and how you work best and how you feel most comfortable in what spaces or in what circumstances, try to put yourself more there, and advocate for that as well, however that looks like.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much. Just some quick comment I'm seeing here. Someone, maybe y'all can figure out who it is, but not a question. They said not a question, but a current advisor at CV. I quickly wanted to say how proud and inspired I am by you all tonight. This is why we do what we do. You all are amazing. Heart emoji, sending all the love. The person's name starts with a T. I'll leave it there. Y'all can probably figure it out. Yeah, and then they also specifically wanted to shout out Nancy for repping the Southeast Asian community, called you a rock star. I am agreeing with that. Amazing. Cool. What's up, Marky? I don't think we didn't hear you.
Shout out T, he's the GOAT.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. This was incredible. It was great to hear from you all. Your perspective is incredibly thoughtful. And I think everyone here benefited from hearing you all. Really quick, again, CV is always taking donations. Please head to the link that you're seeing below. Follow CV, follow Arise on all these different social media platforms so you can hear more from these folks. You can learn more about the work that they're doing. Yeah, I think that's it. We'll leave it here. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. Panelists, thank you for your perspective and the work that you're doing. You all are making the campuses you're on better just by being there. And then on top of that, the work that you're doing there. So thank you. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Make sure to get some rest, drink some water, whatever it is you need to do for self-care.